let's move on to the next really exciting biblical character. But Herod will still play a role in our discussion. Okay, we'll go into that further. Pontius Pilate, an incredibly important character in the biblical story. But again, Pontius is not a first name, and Pilate is not a last name. That's not a name. It's just like Herod, a white title, a nickname, a moniker. The one with the long pillar means the weapon, the spear. What was Pontius Pilate's real name? We know it by now, we reveal it in our book. Who he was before he became Pontius Pilate, we only know that it apparently is supposed to have come from the German Forchheim, because there was still engraved on the city wall in Forchheim until a few centuries ago that Pontius Pilate was born there. At least that's how it is stated in the chronicles of the Petershausen monastery. Even Aeneas Silvius Piccolomini, also known as Pope Pius VII, mentioned this himself in the 15th century. Okay, very interesting. 600 years ago. Still in the 19th century. In the 19th century, the following sentence is said to have been inscribed on the city wall. Pontius Pilate was born in Forchheim, of German descent, the crucifier of the Lord. So, Pontius Pilate was born in Forchheim of German descent, the crucifier of the Lord. What's interesting, though, is that in the fortress attributed to Herod, a ring with the inscription of Pilate can be found. At the same time, Pontius Pilate is said to have come from the German Forchheim, which later also belonged to the Frankish Empire. And what was the name of the mountain again? On the Herodium stands already during the times of the Holy Crusades. Frankenberg. Is that a coincidence? When I read this, I thought, wow, exciting. Connection. Very, very interesting. It is by no means proven that there was this one Herod, that Yeshua was pursued, let alone that he lived in that place or in that palace that is referred to as Herodium. There are also chronological problems regarding the time, but we'll get to that later. With Herod, because of the census, something doesn't add up. Why is the first name of this Pontius Pilate not known? The year of birth is not known. Place of birth is not known. Parents, not known. Pilate's name literally translates to armed with the pilum, which is a type of spear that also fits with a former field marshal. Was he actually of German descent? You know, it was common during the times of ancient Rome that little boys of Germanic princes, as collateral, practically kidnapped and then raised in Rome, to keep the voice submissive, quite simple. That was normal. It's the same with Arminius in Germany, who was made Hermann, who in the end remembered his roots again and defeated the Romans in the Battle of the Teutoburg Forest. Now let's tackle some very simple questions and considerations. In which countries do we have the most Marian apparitions? Exactly. Germany, Austria, France, Spain. Not in the Middle East. If you had burst into a market about 50 to 100 years ago, in southern Germany or in Austria, you would have called out to Mary or Joseph. Probably half the market would have turned around. Philip is said to have gone after the alleged crossing in Gaul, that is, in France. The followers of Yeshua, from there by ship to Britain and brought to Ireland. James the Elder, as you know, worked in Galicia in northern Spain, where the Celts and the Phoenicians were, and he also died there, which is why James is named after him, or rather, it ends there in Santiago de Compostela. It's also a really exciting topic. And one more thing. The legionary who is said to have wounded Yeshua on the cross with the spear is called Pontius, translated, the one with the long spear. Guys, that's just unoriginal. Mr. Long Spear stabs Yeshua in the chest with the long spear. Yeah, okay. And now we come to another protagonist in the story. I just mentioned him briefly. He worked in Galicia. He is named after James. And the final destination, Santiago de Compostela, because he died there. And that's really a heavy story. Watch out. Santiago, as they say, comes from the intermediate form San Jago. From the altered Latin, Sanctus, Jacobus, San Iago. Is, however, a Celtic language form, James, San Iago. In the dictionary for Old High German, we find the entry Iago, and that means James. And this name existed even before the name James and before the Latin language. Here too, they simply added a US, a Roman ending at the back. Very exciting. Does the name Santiago also come from German? Let's not be petty. Okay. It is said that St. James worked in Santiago de Compostela. He would have been beheaded in Palestine afterwards. Furthermore, we find in legends the indication that his body was then placed in a boat and drifted off to Spain. Hold on. He worked in Santiago de Compostela, then he briefly went to Palestine. Then he was quickly beheaded, thrown his head into a boat, pushed the boat into the sea, and it just happened to drift, of course. In the direction completely across the Mediterranean, it didn't land anywhere. Landed through the Strait of Gibraltar, then up north, all the way to Galicia. Guys, who believes that James the Greater was an apostle of Yeshua? He was the son of Zebedee and Mary Salome. And he will be, and his brother, who is called John, and he was known with his brother as the Boanerges. In German, the sons of thunder. There are now several explanations why they were both called that. Okay? One of them says that they were very impetuous. I don't believe it. It's too easy. It doesn't fit. But we also know, and now it gets exciting, that the area around Santiago de Compostela was exactly at that time, was influenced by Phoenician and Celtic cultures. Galicia. This is historically documented. There was in the north, in Scandinavia, the god Thor. He was called Donar by the Germans, the southern Celts, like Thursday, which is still named after him today. Sons of thunder. Were you the sons of the god Donar of Thursday? What I mean is, they were not of the Christian faith before, but old Celts who had Donar as their god. In English, he is named after the northern Pondor, Tor, also Thursday. In German, he's still named after Donar, so Thursday. And with the Romans, he was renamed Jupiter. Okay. Why the Thursday is also called Ruevs in Spanish? Were James and John actually of Celtic Germanic origin? The name of their father, Zebedee, let's move on, is said to derive from the Hebrew Zebediah and means to give. Okay, we can leave it at that. But now let's also take a look at the ancient dictionary of the Germans, the Celts, the Germans, of the Gauls. We get a much more meaningful and accurate translation. Zebediah means in Old High German, translated nothing other than the chosen one, the elected one, or the beloved. Please make your own thoughts and more thing. I have more clues. We're just putting them together. Do you think it's just a coincidence again? That the mother of the two was also called Mary of Galilee. Galilee and Galicia sound almost the same. The root of the word Gal is demonstrably of Celtic origin. We think of the Gauls, who lived in southern France at the border with Galicia. I also think of the Gauls, who are also mentioned in the Bible. They were French Celts who settled in Turkey and founded the city. Founded Ankara. Are the Gauls, are the Galileans, are the Gauls descendants of the Spanish, of the Western Celts, from Gaul and Galicia? The Sephardic Jews from Spain have the stories simply transported from Spain to Palestine. Imported. Questions upon questions that we are allowed to ask ourselves. It continues. The church tells that the mother of James and John was Mary from Galilee. So, I'm going to call her Mary from Gaul or from Galicia. She is said to have been the sister of Mary, the mother of Yeshua, with whom John and James, they were cousins of Yeshua. Do you also know the tasty James? They are also named after this James. After the Apostle James the Elder. Now just take a look on the internet, in the areas of the world where most of the James appear, and you will once again see Scotland, France, and Ireland can be seen and is located in the northern Atlantic. The most important fishing port for James in the world is still located in Lower Normandy. So not far from Galicia, in Port-en-Bessin-Hupang. The James is also considered a distinguishing feature of James. On the edge of the James are depicted as a guide. Exciting, isn't it?